So next is briefly, you'll see a lot of work being done in standards. I can't say enough about standards and how it fits into SCTE. If you look at our mission, basically it's leadership in educating the workforce, being able to provide the tools, and being able to find the methods of scaling our very complex and continuing to become complex networks. So through the use of standards, and I have to say, and I believe my partner, Paul Liao, is in the audience, partnering in the community between the NCTA, Cable Labs, ourselves, and actually presented at CTAM yesterday on how we can partner, and the equation is 2 + 2 is 5. How do we look at the problems and become part of a problem-solving organization? Now, SCTE is an organization with great diversity. In other words, we've got folks that are coming in at the entry level. We have folks at the CTO level. So based on where you fall, we'll talk a little bit more about that, there's going to be a difference of where the interest is and the value of SCTE. So my job is to continue to create value across the, let's call it the workforce pyramid. You'll see that again shortly. So stay tuned on the standard side. We've got a lot of activities, commercial insertion. E-waste is taking place and will be launched shortly. What are we going to do with all of the hardware and technology that we may need to continue to churn, driven by Ohms Law and driven by the competitive marketplace? And another one is best practices that is going to initiate energy management and renewable energy that is kicking off. And please join us at the Green Pavilion, which you'll see some of those activities. Another one is, this is my favorite. My wife came up to me and she says, E over IR, what the heck is that? Does that have something to do with like food and dieting? And I said, no, actually, when you grow up, my father, who is an eccentric, and he was an engineer, he posted on a little 3x5 card, E over IR, in the bathroom. And we're sitting at the dinner table, and my father says, okay, what is this? My mother says, Ohms Law. And we grew up with it, and it was part of the essentials of understanding the fundamental physics of our network from an electronics perspective. And what's kind of interesting is, as an example, if you put your finger over the R, you can determine what the resistance is by using the current, which is the I, and the voltage. So what's kind of interesting is the fundamentals. We really need to return to what those fundamentals are, because if you're operating by a playbook, it's very difficult to ascertain if there's any problems that may be either initially installed or have been existing problems that could be potential unless you understand the fundamental physics of our networks. So this is the basic renaissance of going back to the source of learning, and it's somewhat remedial in some cases, but it's very, very important in the foundation of what we do. Next is and John Shantz from our Expo Program has led the development of a tremendous program that will continue your expansion as a professional in the industry. This is terribly important with the more complex networks that are emerging. Over 25 workshops have been organized in 5 tracks that it's very easy to plan and navigate, and the technical education that's available to you are huge with this opportunity. These educational workshops, the certification that you can take advantage of while you're there, and the 25 new technical titles at SCTE Bookstore are a precursor to some of the new things you're going to see at SCTE. Now, the bookstore is going to, I believe, from 50 to 75. We're looking at a new renaissance of books, more remedial, get back to basics, the more hands-on stuff. We want to look at the whole cross-section of needs, and not just the more complex textbooks, but Marv Nelson on our team is taking a look at that. And we're going to try to do better. And by the way, I'm on the list. And if you go to your internet site and get on the list with us, any feedback you have, regardless of what the issue is, I check the email literally multiple times a day, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Get on the SCTE list, and let's have some fun talking about these issues. Next is a method that we've created, and some of the folks in this room actually, John Shantz and Tony and Mike LaJoy and some of our board members and others, even in the ranks in the field, we're discussing around, so how do we at SCTE, when I came on board, I said, all right, if you have content, how does it target specific segments of a very, very diverse membership? And again, the market, supervision level folks, We can go to the division level folks, and that you'll see that from an engineering and operations support, there may be a different set of skills required. And then we go to the CTO and COO, have another set of interests. Now, is it in education development? Potentially, yes. We've got some good material we're considering, but also in standards, best practices. And what I've discovered, which is very important for us to understand, is as I'm engaging with the senior leadership, and I've worked with most of these folks as peers, I know many of the CEOs, is an interest in SCTE's success, because in a partnership, you look at the value of the workforce and to contribute to the satisfaction of the customer and enabling these very complex networks, you can see the natural relationship. So the CTOs and senior leadership do provide me and us as a team to kind of counsel as to what we need to continue to get better in a marketplace that's just continuing to get more complex, and the level of skills required to get that done in some cases are lacking. So SCTE can provide a significant role in being able to address these issues, but it's got to be a close collaboration, understanding the value that all segments, feedback coming up, feedback coming down, is an important part of the process of learning how we can do better and what contribution we can make to our industry. So before I turn over the microphone to the hardworking 2009 Expo chair, let me take a moment to talk about our sponsors. Certainly, first of all, let me thank our gold level sponsors for 2009, Aurora Networks, CommScope, and Trilithic. If it weren't without the support of these sponsors, it would be very difficult to move. We are a nonprofit dependent upon sponsors and very grateful. And Irdetto, we are very appreciative of, and to include Multilink, who have been great sponsors for the 40th anniversary. And again, I take it seriously because I'm responsible for 40 years of great history and turning the tiller to support the next 40 years. So this is a pivotal point in our industry and for SCTE. And again, I'm honored to be able to support that. Next, I want to make sure that there's a number of sponsors which have been significant to be able to bring us here today. And I want to make sure that we take special thanks of the Expo 2009 sponsors. And let's take a few minutes just to look to see who they are, because they're considerable contributors to everything we do, not just sponsoring Expo, but sponsoring the educational programs, sponsoring other events that we are proposing. And I am very grateful for these sponsors. So last but not least, I'd like to introduce my ally, but I don't want to embarrass him, but I'm going to make a comment. It's John Shantz, Executive Vice President, National Engineering, Technical Operations from Comcast Cable. I got to know John through the best way to know an individual, and that's a contributor to a problem solving. Now, most of our work is problem solving from an engineering perspective. We can design a network and have a hypothesis of, okay, this is what it looks like, but we all know, till you turn it up, the bugs start coming out of the woodwork. And a high-level design of an architecture and a notion and a vision certainly has to go through a process of the vetting of the kind of things that we need to do to operationalize it to scale. So my relationship with John is through being able to apply science, and being an applied scientist, the use of Pareto, project plans, continuous evolution to improve has been a significant benefit to us in the community, and I'm very, very grateful to John